Welcome to a new episode of Boobs, Blood, and Badasses, the Hammer Horror Podcast, which is what I would be saying if this was the podcast I do Hammer movies on. It's not. It's actually Radio Horror's YouTube channel review, The Lodge with Cati, the Blonde in Front of Fear. But if you want an in-depth, hour-long review of this movie, check out the podcast I just mentioned in a couple months when this film's on DVD. But currently in theaters, The Lodge is playing. I highly recommend checking it out, and Katie's going to give us our lowdown on what is, my opinion now, one of the best horror movies of the year.
Hey there, friends and fiends. Yes, this is Blonde in Front of Fear to review The Lodge, directed by Severin Fiala and Veronica Franz, who you may know that did Goodnight Mommy and The Field Guide to Evil. This stars Riley Keough, Alicia Silverstone, Richard Armitage, Jaden Martell, who's going by Jaden Martell instead of Javen Lieberher, who you know from It and a number of other movies, and Leah McHugh. Now, the film is about a dad who is taking his two kids and his new, his girlfriend, who he will eventually marry, to an isolated big cabin in the woods during the winter where there's snow everywhere, a frozen lake. It's during Christmas time, so you've got the holiday season, and he's going to leave them there while he goes back to the cities to finish some work and, come back there in a few days. What could possibly go wrong? I mean, come on. Cabin in the woods, snow, just completely isolated. Nothing horrible could happen with this. Now, I saw this movie, 8 months ago when it was playing at Cinepocalypse. There's three things that I wrote down regarding the entire film. Kids suck. Riley Keough is making another fantastic career choice, and it definitely has that Hereditary feel because there's a big dollhouse in it, and you're also dealing with some dolls. One of the things about this film, the cinematography by Themios Bakatakis. I'm sorry, buddy, if I butchered your name, but the cinematographer of this, he did an amazing job. If you've seen The Searchers, where it's showing the inside, but then the devastation and this isolation of the outside, that is a key element to this film. This film, I can't even imagine what it was like filming this, because there are scenes that this is winter. This isn't studio. This isn't green screen. This is definitely winter, and this looks like it sucks. But one of the things I got to give Riley Keough's character credit for, there is a part where they're out on the lake, the entire family, her guy and the two kids. She's trying to help the little girl because there's a fishing hole. She gets Grace, who is Riley Keough, is helping the little girl Mia, and the fishing hole then collapses and Grace falls in. She is in her coat, her ice skates, everything. She's trying to get out. Her guy comes and pulls her out. The kids are kind of doing something, and then the little girl says, "Oh, my doll," grabs the doll and does nothing. That, for me, kids, would have been like, yeah, look, buddy, I think you're great, but I am out of here. These kids suck. I almost died in a fishing hole trying to get your little princess's doll, and all she cared about was that doll and not a thing about me. This is a definite birth control film. And also, if there are single dads who, I would not probably take this on a first date, just to let you know. The isolation and the cabin fever in this film, they do an excellent job. There's so many religious undertones to it. Alicia Silverstone is in the beginning, who, her part will give you chills, and I don't want to give away what she does, but definitely watch the beginning because that's her shining moment in it. This is one to watch, man. This is really one to watch. They do an amazing job, like when you're struggling to get away from something and then going right back to the beginning. But also, there's nothing feeling more alone than when you're with other people. And that, it's like I feel for the character of Grace, Riley Keough. I think she does an incredible job. Like, with all the festivals that I've seen this movie in, she just is just outstanding. These kids do a pretty damn good job, and it's interesting because I feel bad for the dad, and then I also don't, because I think the parenting is really horrible. Like, this guy is drawn to, some women who have some interesting choices in their past or some interesting things going on with them, and then he obviously doesn't know his kids. Another high point in this film, the music is as stark and frightening as the isolation that this film projects, and I would recommend this. It has a nice twist to it. I saw the twist coming, but it definitely doesn't lead you. It can, if you're a fan, or if you've seen this kind of thing before, it's kind of one of the telltale signs of Fiala and Franz, I feel like. But yeah, this is definitely a horror movie. I had many issues with it, though. I think the family is kind of tacky, and again, the parenting sucks, but I would recommend seeing this and seeing it in the theater.
Going into the movie, I had no idea that it was a Hammer movie, and I had gotten all of the promo and the emails from the studio about the movie. They did not come from Hammer, they came from the other studio. I possibly could have somebody on the show from this movie. I'm not entirely sure yet because I haven't heard from them since the movie came out. But going into this movie, honestly, I watched the trailer one time when they sent it to me, and I was like, okay, that looks neat, and then went on my way. So when I heard the movie was finally in theaters, I immediately had to go see it because I was like, oh, I thought that was going to be video on demand. I want to go see that in the theater. And then I was immediately punched in the face when Mom kills herself at the beginning of the movie. Spoiler, but that's the only spoiler I'm going to give away. I was gut punched when that happened. I did not see that coming. And I was like, is she going on a date before she's dropping her kids off? Because single parents, you totally know what I'm talking about. Drop kids off with dad or mom for the weekend. You're going to go out with the new boyfriend or girlfriend. Totally happens all the time. No, she's getting all dolled up for daddy. Daddy now has the new 8-year younger woman with him because we're assuming that the live-in girlfriend is like 32 years old, roughly, because she was 12 years old back in 2001 when she was part of some weirdo cult. And Dad writes books about cults and stuff like that. So that was kind of interesting. It was also great to see the young Bill from Stephen King's It, in this role as well, because those kids are definitely coming into their own as stars of movies. Heck, we just had the young Beverly from that was in Gretel and Hansel, which we just reviewed, which you can check out on the YouTube channel by Katie and I. This movie definitely has the blood. We cover 3 things on the Hammer podcast: boobs, blood, and badasses. There was definitely blood. Hey, there was full frontal boob nudity. I was kind of surprised by that. Nobody's really a badass in this movie. This movie is just filled with a lot of psychologically damaged people, which really kind of got to me. I recommend checking it out as much as Katie does, but I do have to warn you, if you are disturbed by suicides or stuff involving PTSD, you might want to go see this with somebody and not see it by yourself.
True, I would say that. And I have to give kudos to the casting, because up until this film, I would never have thought that Alicia Silverstone and Riley Keough somewhat resembled each other, which I thought was another aspect of that kind of being a gut punch to the mom, that she was kind of like maybe he's going for the younger version of her.
The mom was Alicia Silverstone?
The mom was Alicia Silverstone.
Oh my god, I didn't even catch that. I knew she looked hauntingly familiar, but I didn't stay through the credits because I had to get out of the theater immediately. Holy cow.
Yeah, and I mean, I've seen this before, but seeing it, it's like I never looked at them thinking, or, even in different roles, thinking like, oh wow, they would play, even relations, stuff like that. But then seeing it on the screen, I'm like, she kind of looks like the younger version of her. I never noticed that, which also makes the dad kind of a scumbag. And it's the fact that, the dad was working on a book about cults and then fell for this chick, which I think is some sort of like work element thing that I would think would be unprofessional and all that. I mean, I recommend this film, but it is for dead of winter. I mean, they picked an amazing time to release it. Kudos to them. I know it was been on the festival circuit for a little while, kind of getting some buzz, but yeah, I do recommend this film.
Check out the rest of the videos here on the Radio Horror YouTube channel. Check out Katie's reviews on her Facebook page. And we'll be back in a couple weeks with another exciting review from The Blonde in Front of Fear on the Radio Horror Network.